All right, welcome everyone. Huge movie fanatic Nate stopping on by with yet again another one of these fan discussions. Today I'm going to be joined by Will Powell from the UK to talk about his, from what I understand, all time favorite film by the name of Jaws. Welcome, Will.
Yeah. Hello, sir. It's actually Jaws the Revenge.
We're talking about, okay, we're talking about Jaws the Revenge. Okay.
That was a joke.
Yeah, I hoped so.
Even though I have seen it, I'm ashamed to say probably more than 4 times for some reason.
Well, that's okay. Sometimes we need to watch trash to balance everything out. But yeah, I don't know if you know or not, but I saw Jaws: The Revenge at the drive-in theater when it was first opened.
I think I remember seeing your review with Matt, and you mentioned that. I
Oh,
seem to
okay,
remember.
okay, yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, okay.
Did it live up to the hype?
Well, no, I mean, I was it was pretty bad even way back then.
Yeah, I think because I saw it when I was a kid. I think you just watch it because it's got Jaws in it, basically. So it was a pass because it was a Jaws film. But um, anyway, that's enough on Jaws the Revenge.
Enough on Jaws: The Revenge. Onto our fan discussion about Jaws. So I guess
Yeah.
this would be a really good opportunity to start the discussion with basically maybe asking you, and if you'd like to share, like when did Jaws enter your life, and how did it become your favorite film?
Um, so my first memory is my parents and my older brother had it on. This would probably be the late 90s. So I was pretty young, and they had it on, and it was just the opening. And they said, "Do you want to come and watch Jaws?" And I was petrified. Just not. I don't think even anything particularly started. They just told me it's about a shark, and I just remember being in the hallway crying because I didn't want to watch it. um, so that's ironic how it's become my favourite film. Um, and then I think I was a bit older, and Jaws 2 was on, and I actually probably saw in its entirety Jaws 2 first, and then went back and watched Jaws probably when I was, I don't know, 9 or 10, something like that. Um, and all I'll say is I think it was my favourite film back then just because it was my favourite film. I didn't have like objective reasons, but now I think objectively there's a case for saying it's one of the greatest films ever made, and just on a subjective level, just holds a lot of memories for me, you know. So, what about you, Nate?
Yeah. Before I answer, can you give a ballpark of how old you were during that very first experience where you're crying in the hallway? Do you remember how old you were during that?
Um, Probably about 7.
Okay, so you 7 with your first experience of it, or first,
I think so. Yeah.
and then like a couple years later, you saw Jaws 2, and that made you revisit the first film again.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure my history with the first film. I would imagine, like back in the day, back in the 80s, we bought a VCR. I can remember my mom saying when we got the VCR, okay, now we're not going to be renting tapes from a video store. We're just going to be recording movies off TV and playing them back. That was the spiel when she bought the VCR. Of course, we ended up renting movies at the video store as well, but also, obviously, I recorded a lot of stuff off TV, movies and TV shows, whatever. Mostly movies to play them back. And I would imagine
Yeah.
my first experience with Jaws, I would imagine, would probably have been recording it off TV. And I think I would imagine because it's rated PG. I can't remember for sure, but it's possible. I'm pretty sure I remember like the first time I saw it. The kind of the startling, disturbing images to a younger kid of the leg falling to the bottom, and the leg
Oh wow. Yeah.
falling to the. I'm pretty sure that was like if yeah. I don't know if whatever version I saw it on, whether it was TV or not. I'm still. I remember seeing that image and thinking, oh God, that's a little that's a little much for my little young mind at the time.
Well, I didn't even get that far. I think I got to the probably the opening credits and just hearing the opening scene. And then I think I remember walking in, and there was the scene where Chief Brody's just riding kind of over the sand dunes in his truck, and that was it. That was enough. That was it. So,
and that would have been during your initial 7-year-old viewing of it.
Yeah, I may have even been younger, which I think is kind of justified to be petrified. But it's funny that something that terrified me is now, my favorite film. Something I wouldn't have dreamed of watching back then. It's funny how you change.
Well, yeah, I mean, one wonders if the trauma of the experience actually is part of the reason it is your favorite film. I hear a lot of, back in the day, Vietnam vets basically going back to Vietnam, and some of them just taking up residence and just, living out the rest of their days in Vietnam. So it's possible that the traumatic experience of the film is what has now made it your favorite film. I'm just a theory.
It could be. It could be why it's probably my first introduction to horror. I don't know if Jaws is probably classed as a horror film, but it certainly has that element. And it's interesting you say that, because I think the mind has something to do with like love and fear are very closely connected in the brain or something. So there could be something in that.
Yeah, like for me, it's like, I mean, I don't really, I don't get nearly as passionate for any other kind of genre as I do for horror films. It must be something to do with, discovering them at a young age, and the excitement and the all the energy and the fear and the, whatever, all those kind of high test emotions that come into play to really make that, for me, the horror genre is definitely my favorite genre, and it's just like nothing comes close to it.
Yeah, I'm the same. I think on just basic film tricks and atmosphere and aesthetic, I agree. I think horror is my favorite genre. Not necessarily all my favorite films are horror films, but I think that's my go-to. If I'm going to put anything on, it's usually a horror film. And I think Jaws is probably, for a lot of people, as far as they go, people who don't like horror, probably Jaws is a film that they would go to, I guess, because it's. I was thinking about it, it's everything in that film. It's adventure. It's kind of got it's got the classic Spielberg family vibe. It's a spectacle. It's a thriller. It's like I say, adventure. It's got characters. It's like a battle of egos. It's got drama, suspense. Yeah, everything.
Yeah, it's interesting. While you were talking just then, I was kind of thinking about a battle of egos, and I was kind of it's almost got this a little bit of the same situation that's in the original Star Trek series with your main three characters, like frickin' Captain Kirk and Spock and Dr. McCoy. It's almost that same kind of the trio dynamic of butting heads.
Yeah, I've never really watched Star Trek all that much, so but I know what you're saying. I suppose that could maybe have been a template for Spielberg, or I know it was Peter Benchley, wasn't it, the guy who wrote the book?
Yeah. By the way, have you read the book?
No, I haven't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a big reader, but I made myself read it years ago. I did a lot of it at the video store when there was like no one in the store, so I was able to get through a lot of Jaws, the original novel, at the video store. And I gotta say, that there's a lot of differences where, well, I don't know if I want to. Yeah, I probably won't spoil it just in case you wanted to read it. But there's definitely a lot of differences that they that really make you go, oh wow, that they left out of the movie.
Do you think well, obviously, I think it's probably obvious. Jaws is Jaws. So do you think obviously Spielberg probably just cut away a lot of the stuff that he didn't think was needed? Do you think that was a good thing, or do you think the film could have been even better if it followed the book more closely?
No, a lot of the elements for me that were in the book that didn't make it to the movie were just like, oh, I'm glad those weren't in the movie because they're just elements that that I don't think were necessary. I mean, elements that maybe work better in a book than a movie.
Yeah,
Cause Jaws for back then is probably for back then I would imagine it's like just over 2 hours long. I would imagine for the '70s, mid '70s, that was kind of a
yeah,
long running time. So adding even more drama would have made it even longer. So I think the movie as it is just fine.
yeah. I mean, it's not really a film where you'd want a director's cut, particularly, or something, is it? I don't. I just. Or God forbid they ever remake it. I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised it's not been remade, but thank God it hasn't. Um, I mean, it kind of has been remade with all the sequels and rip-off films, but there's never been a direct remake. Just with the current trends of remaking everything over the last 20 years, I'm surprised it hasn't been remade. But yeah, it's just untouchable in my opinion. So
Yeah, it is interesting that the actual, the name brand of the title hasn't been remade because I think it was kind of like basically regarded as like the first summer blockbuster.
yeah, and that's another thing where maybe other people don't think of this, but I think it's really significant. I think of films without even realizing, in a subconscious way. I think before Jaws and after Jaws, and that's how I kind of categorize films in a broad way. Um, can you see where I'm coming from with that?
Oh, sure, since seeing as how it is like pretty much one of the first summertime blockbusters, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. And not just the fact that it's the block, but just the way films are made. Um, what films can be like, they kind of take off. It's more than just a movie. It's a T-shirt. It's kind of like it's just in the everyone's subconscious. Everyone knows dun 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 dun. You know what I mean? I feel like films up to that point hadn't reached that. I kind of even people who weren't into films probably went to see Jaws, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah, it became one of the first cultural phenomenon films.
Yeah. So I think if you didn't have Jaws, you wouldn't have had Star Wars, then you wouldn't have had Raiders, you wouldn't have had. I don't think you'd have. For better or for worse, I think you wouldn't have Transformers, you wouldn't have Back to the Future, and I feel like, yeah, that's kind of like I say, before Jaws, after Jaws. I feel like there's a definitive line between that period.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Um, just I think Spielberg was kind of revolutionary, just the way he just showed a family talking how kind of a family talks, where it's not necessarily just pushing on the story, just when he's with his wife or whatever. I don't know. It just seems it's got that Spielberg personal touch to it. I don't know if you've ever felt of it in that way.
Well, personally, I love just pretty much every moment of Jaws, and honestly, I could probably watch a whole movie just devoted to, his family life or a weekend with the
Yeah.
Brody family. And I mean, I love Roy Scheider, and I would imagine it's pretty much, this film that really introduced me to Roy Scheider as a kid, and just like, wow, I don't know what you feel about Roy Scheider, but he's really up there for me, and probably in part due to a lot because of this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think it's great. I probably haven't seen as many films that you've seen him in. I've seen him in this French Connection, Marathon Man. What else? Obviously, Jaws 2. I'm sure I've seen him in some other stuff. But yeah, I've always liked Roy Scheider and Richard Dreyfuss as well. Obviously, Robert Shaw. I knew from. Did you ever see the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3?
No, I haven't.
I'd recommend that film. That's a good film. But anyway, he was in that, and I seem to reckon my dad showed me that film around the same time. I think he made that the year before. Which, interestingly enough, the guy who did Taking of Pelham 123 is the same guy who did Jaws: The Revenge.
Oh, okay, wow.
There's some kind of connection there. But yeah, anyway, I'm going a little bit off topic. But yeah, Richard Dreyfuss was probably my favourite character growing up. I don't know who is now. I think they work so well together, it's hard to pick. I mean, the first half of the film is very much Roy Scheider's film, and then it kind of becomes that trio dynamic, doesn't it? I'd say.
Yeah, it's like the first part, as you said, is Roy Scheider, and then Richard Dreyfuss gets thrown into the mix, and then later on, Robert Shaw gets thrown into the mix.
Yeah, and it's forever quoted between me and my dad. If I'm ever doing anything that's a little bit curious or something, say I'm going camping, it was just like an in-joke. He'd always go, "Farewell, then they do to you, fair Spanish lady." It's like it's
Oh, wow.
So if my dad's ever going up a ladder, I'd sing it to him, that kind of thing.
Yeah, that's really cool. What a great moment in the movie.
Yeah. It's, and also, I think, do you still, I don't, probably people wouldn't admit, that I think it's, the first one is genuinely still quite scary. I find it's still, I still find it quite scary. I don't know if it's waned for you after the sequels and everything, or...
Yeah, that's a good point. I think the scareness of it, the scare factor, has kind of faded over the years, and I just enjoy it, mainly now for everything else that it has to bring. Just the boats and the ocean and the water and the summertime festivities. I'm pretty sure that I think the movie kind of creeped me out as a kid in regards to. I mean, obviously in Minnesota, there's a lot of lakes and stuff, so generally you're not worried about sharks. So like if I had been in a on an ocean town or something like that, I would imagine the movie would, I guess, well, the few times I did have the opportunity to actually get in the ocean, you can bet that I didn't go in very far, probably because of this movie. So
yeah, exactly the same. It's that thought of not knowing what's under you, and that this film, I think that side of the things, when the camera is the shark, is, I still find it, and when I say terrifying, I don't mean in a way where I'm disturbed by it, but it's still, the effect of it still works for me, it's the fact that I think it was filmed on the ocean, and just the vastness of the ocean. The ocean itself terrifies me, just the big blue and kind of just a look into nothingness terrifies me a bit. And the fact that there's something lurking under there that could just pull you under is terrifying to me. So,
yeah,
definitely still works.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, when I watch Jaws these days, I'm pretty much just not really creeped out necessarily too much, and just kind of enjoying the summertime visuals and festivities, and obviously the amazing score by good old John Williams there.
Oh yeah, it's definitely up there. It's probably the best score ever. And I don't know if it's fair to compare things and rank all the time, but just how simple it is, and everyone knows dum dum dum. I mean, it's between that and Star Wars, I think, which is also John Williams. Yeah, and that's another thing I will say. Music. You look at music in films. I think this is the first film where the music really has a personality. I mean, I might be wrong on that. I mean, there was Psycho before. Maybe you could argue that, but just for example, John Williams did the score for Tower and Inferno. Did you know that?
Yeah, I probably did back when I saw it. I haven't seen it for a long time.
Which was the year before Jaws, 1974, and it's a good score, but it's not particularly memorable, and it's kind of got all the cliches of kind of that, like I say, before period of Jaws, where it's kind of like scary moments, scary music, exciting moment, exciting music. Where Jaws is subtle. It knows there's sometimes no music in it. When it's just showing people's legs, and it's very subtle as well. I think, yeah. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think I get the basic gist of what you're saying. I would assume you've got like the soundtrack score on some. Do you have it on any physical media at all, a CD or anything?
No, I don't. I've just seen the film that many times. I just know more or less beat for beat, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it kind of like you have like a Brody theme, the whole. It's just, I feel like it's more personal, than a lot of films ever were before.
Yeah, I think from what I can recollect about the music from Towering Inferno, I mean, it was kind of the music was not necessarily for any character. It was like the music was for the movie itself, and maybe just yeah. So that's a good point. Like the music is more personal in Jaws.
Yeah, what I'd say? I'd just say Towering Inferno is confident, and it's just stock. It's standard. It's almost like stock music, It's kind of like. It's almost like the director said, right, we need scary music here, we need there. I feel like Spielberg would probably kind of like one of the first directors to look into the emotions of the characters like deeply, not just kind of like on a shallow level, like sad moments, sad music, happy moments. You know what I mean? It was kind of just very subtle, and just a bit where he's playing with the kid at the dinner table and stuff like that. That kind of. That's a beautiful bit of music for me. Do you know which bit I mean?
Yeah, I was just thinking about that scene and realizing that there is music that goes with that as well.
Yeah, but it's got this really dark undercurrent of it as well, because it's got this like kind of playful seasidey sound to it with him and his son. But there's like a I don't know if you can relate to it as well. There's like a dark tone under it as well. You can hear, and it's kind of like that's the shark still there, and he's that's the way I always felt about it. I don't know if I'm looking into it too much, but yeah. So the music definitely, I'd say, is 50% of this film's success is down to John Williams, I think.
Yeah, music is definitely can play an important part in a movie, and this is definitely no exception. That's for sure.
Yeah. And also, I remember seeing documentaries on it, and I think it was tied in with Star Wars as well, of how the early 70s had been quite a dark period in films like Dirty Harry, Clockwork Orange, Death Wish, like really kind of down and dirty vigilante films, and very kind of ultra realistic in a way, in a certain way. And then Jaws came along, and it was like movies can be fun, kind of that spectacle element.
Yeah, I mean, I know I like one of the things I liked about watching this as a kid was just how it portrays just quite simply the summertime, beach kind of environment and stuff. And every time, watching the movie as a kid would actually make me want to go to the beach. And then when you're at the beach,
Yeah,
and when you're at the
which is
beach,
strange.
it's like,
A killer shark in the water, but yeah, definitely, I know what you mean.
yeah, you want to go to the beach to experience everything from this movie except the killer shark.
Yeah, that's what Spielberg does, though. I think he makes films where you literally want to stay in that world with these characters. And I get the same feeling with when I watch E.T., Jurassic Park. I think that's part of his magic. When he's at his best. Could you relate to that?
Yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah, he creates environments and characters and worlds that you kind of don't want the movies to end.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of like the master of escapism in a way, I'd say. When he was at his best. Not so much these days, I don't think, but um, I feel like a lot of these films these days are starting to look a bit more cold and cynical and digital, and I don't know, but that's just the way things have gone, I think, in general. But I feel like this is his best film. Well, it's obviously his best film for me. But would this be your favorite Spielberg movie?
Oh, I don't know. I'd have to think about it. It's hard to say because I'm a big fan of Duel as well.
Oh yeah, Jaws great. I mean, I remember seeing the documentary about Jaws, and Spielberg kind of felt like this was kind of what's the word, like a spiritual sequel to Duel in a way, because it's four letters, Duel, Jaws, and it's basically kind of man versus monster, kind of in a different kind of way. So, and that's what he said, Spielberg. So, I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Is the roar at the end where the sharks exploded and it's just sinking to the bottom of the ocean? It's the same sound as the truck in Duel when it's going over the cliff.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
That's correct. Yeah, that same kind of generic dinosaur roar.
Yeah. And again, even like Duel has got classic Spielberg elements before Spielberg was even, really well known, like a guy basically trying to get home to his family, because it does show a scene where he's talking to his wife and there's the kids in the living room, which is very Spielberg. And I suppose Jaws is like that as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Just out of curiosity, have you ever seen Sugarland Express? I haven't seen it myself.
No, I haven't seen it. That's his. No, I should do though. I know it's Goldie Hawn and I don't know who else is in it, but yeah, I should watch it. That would be in between Duel and Jaws, I think.
Yeah, it might be. I'm pretty sure the guy I started the channel with, Matt, I'm pretty sure he said it in his opinion it wasn't any good. So, but that doesn't mean it's the definitive,
Yeah. No, I haven't seen it in all honesty.
Yeah,
but I really should do, because I've seen more or less everything else he's done.
Are there any scenes in Jaws that is there any scene you can call your favorite, or is it so much of it just your favorite scenes?
It's so much. The one scene I still shocks me that they went there is the kid on the Lilo. I'd say that still, how did they get away with this being a PG? And to me, that's more graphic than a lot. I mean, that is more graphic than anything you see in Texas Chainsaw Massacre, technically. The scene where the kid's getting pulled over and he's gasping for air and he's just blood splurting up everywhere. It's just, I feel like that's a really harrowing scene, and every time it's like, oh my God, I can't. Yeah. And
Something that's interesting about the mother of that boy is she looks a little old to be the boy's mom.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's when she's I think his name was Alex, wasn't it? And
Alex Kittner.
Alex Kittner. She's calling out his name, and you just see the Lilo drifting back to the shore with blood brown. It's just
Yeah, you forgot the hole in it.
Yeah. I don't know though. Could you tell me a modern film where it goes there, where it would kill a kid like that and show it graphically?
Yeah, they generally don't kill kids in movies these days, but I don't see a lot of current movies either, so I wouldn't be the right one to ask, I guess.
I suppose. Did you see the remake of It?
I saw the first half of it. Yeah, I can't remember any of it.
Well, that kills the kid, Georgie.
Oh, okay.
So, but but I don't know. I get when I'm talking about Jaws and people kind of dismiss it, and they usually haven't seen it. They think they've seen it because it's so popular in pop culture. They feel like they've seen it, and then I found out, well, I haven't actually ever watched it, but I know it's cheesy, and I'm like, oh my god, you need to watch it because you've got it so wrong, you know? That doesn't annoy me.
So what would you say the average age of these people that have that attitude are?
Well, it's strange though, because I've spoke to young people who've seen it and they love it, and I've spoke to, I suppose, other young people and they don't like it, or they claim, then you dig a bit and they haven't actually seen it. I mean, if they don't like it, that's fine, that's their opinion. But all I'll say is I feel like it gets lumbered in with the sequels, Jaws, and I feel like if it was just one film, I'm not saying that it's got a legacy that needs to be protected. I feel like it's always going to be up there, one of the best films ever made. But I feel like it's a bit misunderstood for people who haven't seen it. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah, I think you've talked about that before, where the possibility of like the sequels, like 3 and 4, being just so cheesy and renowned for being just cheesy, kind of affect the legacy of the first film.
Yeah, like I hear, the shark looks dead fake. It's like, I was actually talking about this the other day to someone. It's like, well, you don't see the shark hardly until the last 15 minutes. So I felt like that's a redundant argument,
Yeah, they're just repeating that line from Back to the Future Part 2.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like it happens with a lot of films. Rocky, the first one was an Oscar winner. People forget that, but then you get to like Rocky 5 and it's been watered down, hasn't it,
Oh God, yeah.
And Jurassic Park, I think people forget, especially people who weren't around in the 90s, how much of a big deal that film was,
Yeah. Well,
we're talking about this, just in general, how sequels can kind of like diminish the original film's effect, I guess.
Yep.
Would you say that's kind of relevant with Jaws in a way?
Yeah, absolutely. And the same thing could probably be said for a lot of franchises. Freddy, Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
The first film is serious, and then they get all goofy, and then everyone thinks the first film's goofy just because the rest of them are.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying I necessarily hate all the Jaws. I mean, I've seen all the Jaws sequels countless times, and I actually quite like Jaws 3 for what it is, and a guilty pleasure I have. For some reason, it comes around at Christmas time a lot. Is Jaws: The Revenge, and I have watched it more than a few times. So, yeah. So I'm not being hypocritical, but I'm aware how even films that I like, sometimes you think it shouldn't really have been made. And I guess Jaws' legacy kind of was the first film to do that, I suppose. Jaws 2. Am I wrong?
Jaws 2 did what?
To be the first kind of sequel. I'm not saying it's the first. Sorry, let me just be clear. It's not the first ever sequel. I know because you got Planet of the Apes, then you got Beneath the Planet of the Apes. But I think would it be in the first film to use the word 2 in it? Jaws 2.
I'm not 100% sure. I know, like the Godfather Part 2, I think is the.
Okay, yeah.
But that was only like the Godfather Part 2 was only a year before. Oh, never mind. I'm thinking before Jaws. Yeah, it's possible that Godfather 2 was the first 2.
Okay. Because it's funny, you wouldn't have ever got that in the 60s. There was never, The Great Escape 2 or Zulu 2 or I don't know, Cool Hand Luke 2. You just didn't get it.
Yeah, obviously there were a series of James Bond films, but none of them were ever called, Dr. No 2.
Yeah, because they're always they're kind of self-contained, aren't they? The Bond films. I feel like that's slightly different. and also like Indiana Jones kind of gets away with it as well, and Star Wars, I guess, because it's like kind of a saga rather than, I don't know, just let's just cash in. As much as I like Jaws too, you know, but it is kind of redundant. Do you know what I mean?
Well, right. I mean, obviously the producers, there's a huge success with Jaws, and obviously the thinking is, well, let's do this again, and we know what works with Jaws, the first film, so let's try to give them more or less more of the same, people on the ocean to get eaten up, and see if we can replicate the success.
Yeah, I mean, the film is a similar template to the first one, really. It's kind of like Rocky 2 to Rocky. It looks the same. It's got the same aesthetic. I don't think it's as nearly as well made and as well paced and as well filmed, but it kind of like it fits that world, Jaws 2, quite well, I think.
Absolutely. I do think it's one of the better sequels of that I can think of, definitely. And as a kid, I'm not too sure I was necessarily aware of like the directors or the filmmakers involved in like the first two movies. I know when I was a kid, I mean, even when I watch Jaws 2 now, I mean, I watch Jaws 2, and I do think that the feel is, it's not quite up to par with the first film as far as, technical brilliance, but it does feel very similar to the first film, and that's what I love about Jaws 2.
Yeah, I like Jaws 2. I'm a big fan. Obviously, I've probably seen it as much as the first one. But just in terms of kind of historical film importance and just kind of being Spielberg's first big breakthrough and what it did for cinema, I feel like that's why Jaws has become my favourite film of all time, just because I can look at it and admire it as like a great film, a great piece of film, and also just holds so many memories as well. So it's kind of like subjectively my favourite film, and I think objectively I'd say I've got an argument for it being one of the greatest films ever made. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it sounds like there's a lot of different reasons for you why it's your favorite film.
Yeah, I mean, and also kind of like another one of my favorite films is I don't know if it'd be one of my favorites, but it's a film like it'd probably be my top 100 is Halloween 3: Season of the Witch, which I've talked to you about. But I know it's hokey and it's got problems. You know what I mean? I know it's not in the same league as Jaws, so that's why a film like that couldn't ever be my favorite. I don't think. I'm trying to just meet it halfway where I'm being like objective about it and also subjective. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. Do you think that if you'd seen, do you think seeing Jaws at such a young age is part of the reason why it's your favorite film now?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I find that as well. Like, the majority of my favorite films, I saw at a younger age. So obviously that definitely plays into a lot of it with us film fans.
Yeah, and I think, like I was saying, I enjoyed it on a level of this is really great entertainment. As a kid, let's watch Jaws, and I didn't think about the filmmaking. I wasn't interested in behind the scenes, But as I've got older, I've still got that kind of childlike wonder for it, but also I look at it and got respect for it even more. You know what I mean? As I've got like aged so well, and I enjoy it on a different level. Whereas some films I still like because I saw it as a kid, but I'm aware I like this just because I'm a kid. Whereas Jaws worked both. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, this might be something kind of like what you're saying. Like for me, when I was 12, the Halloween 2, like the original one from '81,
Yeah.
was the greatest thing ever to me. And then like 10 years later, I'm watching Halloween 2, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I mean that's a great example. I mean, I really like Halloween 2, but I completely know what you're saying. It's again, it's kind of in terms of against the original Halloween, it's kind of redundant, but yeah, completely. Yeah, I know what you're saying. I still really like Halloween 2, but I acknowledge it's kind of a substandard. Well, it's pretty well made slasher for the 80s, but it's very typical, for a slasher film. It's nothing particularly special about it. But
I hear you there.
yeah, do you not like Halloween 2 at all now, or?
Yeah, I was just gonna speak a little more on it. I guess my feeling for Halloween 2. It's like if the only thing I kind of really like about it these days is I guess just the memories I have for for it when I was a kid, kind of a thing. Like if I hadn't seen it when I was a kid, I'd still probably like it just for the fact that it's 1981 and young Jamie Lee Curtis and stuff. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's funny how that for me that's the biggest 180 I think that I ever
yeah,
experienced on a movie in my life. Like holy shit.
yeah. I hear you. I just like the John Carpenter-esque aesthetic, and I'll just like it by default. Same with Halloween 2. Same with Halloween 3. I know he was producer on those two, wasn't he? Not the director, but it's just got that early 80s look and that synth score, and so I'm just gonna like it. You know what I mean? Just because of when it came out, and yeah. But if I was going to sit down and we'd objectively look at it, how well is it written, and it probably doesn't hold up towards the original,
Yeah, I mean, when I was a kid, Halloween 2, it was all about Michael and what was Michael up to. And, you watch it as an adult, and it's like, oh my God, the main star from the first movie is just catatonic in bed the whole thing.
I know. Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't hold up. I mean, it's the same with. I remember being at school, and I had seen Rambo: First Blood Part 2 when I was like 9 or 10, and I just thought it was the best thing ever. And went to school and just raved, "Oh, I've got to see this film," And so, but then you get older, you realize how kind of stupid it is, but.
That's funny. Yeah, that was another big hit, I think, in the 80s, Rambo First Blood Part 2.
Yeah, I still like it, though. I mean, it's cheesy as anything, but it's good. Still good. That's another example of a film that's been kind of diminished. The First Blood. A lot of people have said, "Have you seen, Rambo First Blood?" And they'll dismiss it. They haven't seen it. They'll just think sweaty macho 80s, shooting up the place. But I feel like the first one's got actual substance to it.
Oh, yeah, that's another good point. Yeah, the sequels ruined the first film of the Rambo series.
Yeah, I mean, the sequels are just a completely different beast, really. Just completely different. Because the first was like a survival thriller, almost drama, which was based on a novel, and so yeah, very similar to Jaws. I feel like it's been saturated by the sequels, and I just kind of wish First Blood was just First Blood and that was it. But there you go.
Yeah, have you seen the most recent one, Last Blood?
Yeah, I thought it was 6 out of 10 film. It was okay. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I mean, the only thing that was cool about it was like the end, seeing Stallone with the bow and arrow again. And I mean, Stallone was fun in it, but yeah, that's pretty much all I can say. It was fun at the end when he got his bow and arrow working again.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. It was fine. I just thought would have been cool if we could have done a film, Last Blood, where Brian Dennehy was in it again or something. He could have. I know he died, didn't he? Last year, I think. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm alone in that. Maybe there could have been some resolution between them two, like a handshake. I don't know. I don't know if that would have ruined it. I don't know. I just thought, if you could call it Last Blood, bring it, because he didn't die at the end of First Blood. Just I don't know. Or maybe Brian Dennehy's still hunting him. Like, all these years he's been searching for Rambo.
Yeah, Brian Dennehy could sue John Rambo.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't know. But anyway, let's back to Jaws. Just talking about, I said the kid on the Lilo when he gets eaten and torn to pieces. Have you seen some of the deleted scene shots from that?
I'm pretty sure I saw some of that back in the day. Can't say I remember much, but is there anything in specific you're talking about?
Yeah, because I've seen it, and I haven't seen it in its full context because it's just kind of like what would you call it? Rough
Dailies.
like rough dailies from it. Oh no, sorry, I'm wrong on that. I'm getting muddled up. It's the bit where Michael Brody gets attacked. Well, he doesn't get attacked, but the guy. Yes, there's a scene where Michael's with his friends and the boat gets tipped over, and like the guy gets his leg chewed off. You know which bit I mean, obviously. And there's extended footage of the guy trying to save Michael, holding him up in the air, and he's getting pulled along by the shark, and there's blood splitting up everywhere all over the kid, and Spielberg cut it because he just thought he went too far with it. I don't know if you've seen any of that.
Yeah, I was just gonna recall. So the guy is in the shark's mouth, ain't he?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, and it's to me. I mean, everyone's different. People find different things scary, but that is just really harrowing to me. I think in fact as a kid as well, it's just And he cut that out because he just thought he went too far with it. So
Yeah, I think he made the right choice there.
yeah, maybe. I mean, there could have been the ultra violent Jaws cut like they did with RoboCop or something. But, yeah. It's funny with RoboCop. There's like the director's cut, which is like ultra violent. It was like, really, even more violent than the original cut. Yeah. It's again, that's another example of sequels just completely sanitizing the original.
Oh yeah.
I mean, again, I've said to people, "Have you seen RoboCop?" And they don't think of it as like this kind of film noir, Paul Verhoeven kind of. It's kind of like a bit satire on yuppie 80s, and it's ultra violent, and they think of it as some stupid kids film, RoboCop. You know what I mean? Like, until you've seen it, and you know. So that's why I try and keep an open mind. And like, if I haven't seen a film, I try not to have an opinion, even though I haven't seen a lot of the Transformers films. I have to keep an open mind. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think if it's a Michael Bay film, you don't have to worry about having an open mind.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But is there any favorite scenes from Jaws for you?
Yeah, it's hard to. I pretty much like the whole damn thing, and kind of like we were talking about earlier. Honestly, I do like some. I think some of my favorite scenes are just Chief Brody, and like even just the Kintner scene where he's sitting on the beach and watching over people, making sure nothing's going wrong. I just like to me it just captures like that summertime beach feel so well. I kind of just like the simple scenes where it's just on the beach, and Brody just keeping watch over the beachgoers and stuff, and like we said earlier, the family scenes and stuff. I don't think I could pick out a favorite scene. I pretty much love it head to toe.
Yeah, I mean that scene, kind of you said, where he's just sat on the beach. He's kind of aware that Chrissy's been killed at the start, so he's kind of vigilant on the beach. But some of that stuff's like some of the most famous footage in cinema history. The way the camera keeps flicking as the people keep walking past, and the way it zooms in on Brody, and just that is it a Ken Burns shot or something like that? Like a, you know, it zooms in and kind of pulls out at the same time when he sees the kid getting eaten.
Yeah, I want to say Hitchcock did it first in Vertigo or
Oh,
something.
oh, okay then. I stand. But still, even with that said, I feel like it's still like one of the most, you know, the whole. It's a very famous scene from it, you know.
Yeah, I also love the scene where all the the ad is out and all the kind of redneck fishermen are showing up, and Hooper shows up and he's like, "Where are you taking that dynamite? Out on the boat?" No, 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 you're not.
Yeah, which I think you could imagine happening if you know, if that was a real life. I mean, it probably has been a real life situation.
Oh yeah, that's
Um,
that's totally realistic.
yeah, and you know, I'm a big dog lover. That always bothers me with the dog just on the front of the boat and they're throwing dynamite around. And I was always like, oh no, yeah. I always like the that's when Richard Dreyfuss turns up and he said, "Can anyone tell me where there's a good hotel or restaurant?" And he says, "Yeah, walk straight ahead." That always tickled me.
Oh, they're all gonna die.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Richard Dreyfuss adds a lot to that film. He's got such energy in that film, and like he's so enthusiastic, and yeah,
Yeah,
just
I'd agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, like when he comes round to see Brody, and he just joins them for dinner, kind of invites himself. Do you know what I mean? And it's just like, oh, I like this guy. You know, I just feel like if he entered the room, you wouldn't want him to leave. He's got a good presence, even though he's a little bit he's got slightly pompous side to him. He's I don't know. He's a good character.
Yep. Yeah. It's a shame that honestly, it's a shame that he wasn't in Jaws 2, but he was on
Yeah,
to bigger and better things, I guess.
yeah. And just going on, I don't want to like bring politics into it, but it was kind of shaped. I don't know. I'm on myself. It's just interesting the dynamic between Quint and Dreyfuss, whereas because Quint um, kind of like signifies that working class kind of redneck, kind of hardworking and very honest labourer kind of, whereas Dreyfuss is the rich boy, you know, and with all the equipment and I think in a lot of films it would have been written that you just hate Dreyfuss, but it's not written like that, you know. You kind of like, do you see what I mean?
Did you say then in a lot of films it'd be like you hate the character of Richard Dreyfuss' character?
Yeah, kind of the rich, suave, know it all, but you don't. You like him, and I feel like that's again Spielberg writing proper characters. It's not just, you know, he's that guy, he's that guy, he's that guy. They're three-dimensional characters. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but I think
Whereas,
a lot of that has to do with the casting of the Richard Dreyfuss. I think
yeah,
if it had been some kind of handsome square jawed just model hunk guy, you probably wouldn't like
yeah,
him very much.
yeah. I mean, kind of like in a conventional way, you'd usually side with Quint because he's kind of more of like the hard-working, gruff character, you know. And you know, like I say, Richard Dreyfuss has come in, rich boy from the city, and you know, it's even brought up because he says, Richard Dreyfuss says, "I don't need this working class hero shit." And it's kind of like, it kind of like it questions things. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I mean, it's not a big important part of the film, but just even as a kid, it made me think, oh yeah, so it doesn't necessarily mean if you're rich, you're a bad guy, or if you're poor, you're a nice guy. You know, it's kind of like it's grey. You know what I mean? Characters can be grey. If that makes it's not just black and white. You know?
Yeah, there's some interesting, very, 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 very subtle character study in the movie. Nowadays, it'd be just jammed down your throat.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, Quint is basically. I don't know how would you describe Quint in the film. He's not really a very nice guy, but towards the end, you kind of, I don't know, you've kind of fallen in love with him as much as you have with the other characters. You know what I mean? Even though he's the most reckless and, yeah, it's just so well written. I think the characters, you know. I mean, he's always kind of like self-destructive towards the end, where I feel like he's got this vendetta with the shark, and that's it, you know?
Yeah, it is funny to see him to go kind of, crazy towards the end there, where it's like the shark is the first time this has ever happened to him, where the damn shark is getting the better of him and it's pissing him off.
Yeah. And I feel like someone once said something to me, is like, if this had gone on, if they'd have tried to get in the way, Brody and Hooper, he'd have probably ended up murdering them. And I feel like, yeah, that could have probably happened, you know?
Well, shit, even the way it is in the movie, I mean, he's just a couple frickin' steps away from doing that in the finished movie. So that makes perfect sense. I mean, he almost did try to kill him when he's in a way, when he smashes the radio and he puts too much pressure on the engine and stuff. It's like, God, he's giving them signing everyone's death certificates.
Yeah. And it's interesting on the other hand, though, how he kind of warms to Hooper, kind of when they start bonding over the bruises and tattoos and stuff, and I think that's a good moment. You kind of like,
yeah,
drink to our legs,
and drink to our legs.
But he kind of turns to Hooper at the end. He goes, he says, Hooper, if you stick this little needle in him? And I find that interesting as well. He kind of almost admits he's out of ideas, so he turns to Hooper.
Oh yeah, can you get this little needle through his skin?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just so... I think it's kind of like a happy accident that they couldn't get the shark to work. I'm sure you know all of that story and everything, how the shark never worked, and so I feel like all of that just led to Spielberg focusing on the other side of the story, which probably made a lot of horror films wouldn't usually do. Characters and stuff. Do you get what I'm saying? So he'd focus on making sure that the characters were as good as possible. The shark doesn't work, so we're going to have to use other techniques and approach it from a different angle. And I think, by accident, that's why it works so well.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and also, on that, while we're on that same topic, I do think it is actually more effective seeing less of the shark than more of it.
I think it's terrible. I think being at the perspective of the shark a lot, it's just swimming through people's legs and all that, or is it? Sometimes is it just the cameraman it's supposed to be, or is it supposed to be the shark? So that's clever as well. Yeah, it's genius, really. I mean, and the fact, if you watch a lot of the behind-the-scenes footage, the fact that they thought it was going to be a flop and a disaster, even Richard Dreyfuss disowning it, saying it's not Spielberg's fault, and he hadn't even seen the final cut. I think he was just thinking the shark doesn't work, it's not going to, it just shows you the power of editing and good story, I guess.
So Dreyfuss had kind of like given up on the movie before it came out or something?
Yeah, there's an interview with him. You can find it on YouTube. Him being interviewed about this new film, Jaws, and he's basically standing up for Steven Spielberg, saying it's not his fault, and and then a few weeks later, he's saw the film and he was coming out the cinema cheering and saying it works, it worked. So it's kind of like interesting.
Oh wow, yeah, I never saw that. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. Again, it's Spielberg at his best because he was at his wit's end. It's like he was really just working with what he got, and this is before CGI and stuff, and yeah, it's kind of like a lightning it really is a lightning in a bottle film. That I feel like it was given to someone else, or just didn't have that right casting. It wouldn't have worked. I just feel like everything just came together, you know?
Yeah, you can't imagine anyone else being in the roles. You can't imagine anyone else doing the music, directing it, everything.
Have you heard the story of how he got the film?
Spielberg?
Yeah.
I'm not sure I have.
Basically, I think it was the producers. Can you remember famous producers? I can't remember the names. Can you remember the is it Xanax or something or?
Yeah, yeah.
And
That
I think he got a bit of recognition from Jewel, and Spielberg came across the script in their office or something, and he said, oh, "I'd love to direct that." And they both said, "Well, we've got someone else already directed it." And Spielberg was saying, "Like, you need to do this, and if you're going to do it, I feel like you need to do that." So they kept him in mind. And does this ring a bell? This story?
Not really.
So this other director, I'm not sure it was. They were having like pre-production meetings, and "This is how I want to start the film. You're gonna see it. There's gonna be a camera moving through the water, and then all of a sudden, the whale comes up out of the water, and everyone looked at each other like the whale." And the guy was so kind of blasé about it, he just called it a whale. So that's how Spielberg got the part. He was like, "Well, we need this other guy." So, so that's interesting. And he was like the first guy, because they wanted to do all the ocean stuff in a controlled environment, in like a pool and everything. And Spielberg was like, "No, we're filming on the ocean," which I think again makes him like a maverick. You know what I mean? It's very cool.
Wow, I can't. There's no way I can imagine that thing being faked in a freaking backlot pool.
But that's kind of like, say, that's why it's so groundbreaking, because again, because you can imagine before Jaws, like kind of like guys in suits, "Oh, this is going to be a picture and we want it released by then, we've got our studio set up and we're ready to go," you know what I mean? It's kind of like very kind of controlled environment, and Spielberg was kind of a bit of a rogue in that way, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very, very, yeah, definitely made it in the way that I think benefited the film. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he said it was an absolute because it was his naivety that made him say we're going to film in the ocean, and the amount of problems he ran into, just like, just silly things like having to wait an hour for a boat to get out of the shot in the distance, and then the sun would start to go down, and they lost this, just all things like that, just little things now that could be fixed so easily with computers and stuff, but back then it was. I just find all that really fascinating.
Yeah, honestly, the producers or whoever's decision it was to do it, in a pool probably knew the hurdles of filming in the ocean. So, like you say, it was Spielberg's naivete that it's funny how he actually, talked the producers into doing it in the ocean.
Yeah, because it's just not. Because the ocean is unpredictable, isn't it? They were saying like the current would be going one way and the camera crew would be getting drifted another way, and it's just said it was just chaos.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they thought the film was going to be a disaster. And there was a whole like salt water getting in the shark, all the hydraulics they had on it and all that, and the shark never worked and stuff like that. So
yeah, I can't imagine being the producers during their production like, "Oh my God."
Yeah, what have we done? But he had done that with Jewel. I don't know if you ever saw, because I think on the DVD I saw the documentary of. Again, they wanted to do it because that wasn't Jewel a made-for-TV thing.
Yeah.
They wanted to just get a car in a studio and have fake backgrounds. Imagine how, and Spielberg said, "No, we're going to film on the road, this is going to be real." So.
Oh my God.
But it's funny how we've come full circle and we've gone back to the other way now. Just in a lot of ways, we've gone back to just blue screen, green screens and yeah.
Yeah, it's a real bummer.
Go on.
I said, yeah, it's a real bummer that it went back to the fakery.
Yeah, and it's like I went to see Maverick, Top Gun Maverick yesterday, and just every trailer that comes on, just rolling my eyes out. It's a new superhero. So I'm like, oh, it looks terrible. Just, I mean, even films that weren't great back then at least had a good. I was talking about some of these like slasher films from the 80s. They still looked good. They looked like movies. Even if they were bad. It's just like even like films now don't even have that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you could watch the crappiest shit from back then, and it was still fun to watch because it was on film. It looked like a movie.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's I don't know. Am I just getting old and cranky? I don't know.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, do you see any future with Jaws? Do you think there'll be a Jaws 5 one day, or like a legacy sequel?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever I've actually had an idea for Jaws 5 for a long time, and I don't know, have I ever told you my idea?
I think you did mention the idea. I think I could probably tell you what you told me, but I don't want to
well, that would be interesting. Tell me what you think my idea is, if you'd like to.
Okay. I don't want anything to be plagiarized, though.
Yeah, if this ends up being made, I'll know it was my idea. It's okay. We can say it.
We've got it date stamped on YouTube and everything.
Yeah.
Your idea. I seem to remember, wasn't it? Kind of, it was going to be a bit meta. It was going to be. You told me. It was going to be in production Jaws 5, and they go out on the sea to make Jaws 5, and an actual shark turns up.
Yeah. That's my idea for Jaws 5. Yeah, they get attacked. The production gets attacked while trying to make Jaws 5.
I think that's a good idea.
Thank you.
Because it could kind of. Would you see it as a little bit of a comedy as well, borderline a bit like Piranha, not a straight comedy, but just got like that kind of. Or would you want it to be straight horror?
No, because of the, I guess, quote unquote meta aspect of it, it'd be a little bit tongue in cheek.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't that Jaws 3 was originally going to be a comedy? Did you know that? It was going to be like a spoof.
Yeah, like
a national
Jaws 3 Human 0.
I like that. That would have been good.
So that's my sequel for Jaws 5.
Good idea. I mean, I wouldn't want to say what would you do? Let's see what the Brody children are up to nowadays, because we've done that already.
Yeah, you pretty much have to just forget about the Brodies, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, it's silly, really. It's like, okay, Shark comes back the second time, the Brodies get involved in it again. Okay, fine. You've pushed it a bit, but okay, why not? But then, like, Jaws 3, they're, like, for some reason now 20 years older, and Dennis Quaid, and working in a sea life centre, and a shark turns up. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's the same thing with, like, Sidney Prescott and the Ghostface.
Well, yeah. Okay, I suppose they're a little bit more tied together with the whole kind of Sidney's mother and all that, I guess. But yeah. But I think Jaws 4 really does cross that line. It's so bad. I don't know if I would say it's good, but it's just, I don't know. It's just so bad. It's intriguing to me. That film,
Yeah, it's a real shame. It's really amazing what happened to Jaws: The Revenge. It's really something.
Yeah. Do you know there was a novel of Jaws: The Revenge?
So, like a novel before the movie?
Yeah. Oh, no, hang on. I might be wrong on that. It might have just come in as a tie-in with this movie, like they do sometimes.
Yeah,
Just a different.
novelization.
Yeah, and there was going to be some weird voodoo priest or like wizard on the island who cast a spell on the shark, and that's why it was after the Brodies.
Oh my
Look,
god.
that could have been even worse. Yeah, but yeah, it's got Michael Caine in it at least, I suppose.
I was just thinking that right before you said it. I bet that's one of his biggest regrets being in that movie.
Yeah, didn't he just go for a holiday or something? I think he's like, oh, I'll go holiday in the Bahamas or something.
Yeah, who cares if the movie's shit? I'll get a holiday out of it.
Yeah, a big paycheck. I mean, you know how you say like movie, it is all about opinion, but I think like how you could say Jaws is objectively a good movie, the way it's paced, character development, everything. Jaws Revenge, I'd say, is objectively a bad film in every way. You know?
Yeah, it's something, and every time I watch it, which isn't that often, it's just like holy cow. Like honestly, I think how it begins with like the Christmas and Amity and stuff like that, and the death of
Yeah,
the younger brother. I think that's is actually done rather well.
yeah, yeah. I mean, but it's just like rudimentary film things before you even get into script and is it well paced. I mean, you see like the freaking pipes coming out of the shark, and you see just little rudimentary things of what I mean. And Michael Caine coming out of the water and is just on basic filmmaking, like continuity things, like he's coming out of the water and his shirt's dry. It's just a bad movie. If you were doing a film class on bad movies, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I can't disagree with that.
It's like putting up a house and one of the walls is falling down. You go, no, it's fine, it'll do. You know, it's like before anyone's even had a chance to look around and give their personal take on it, the foundations of it don't even work. You know, it's like so yeah. But there you go. and Jaws 3 is definitely a guilty pleasure film for me. I don't know why, but I quite like it. Even though I know it's bad. I like it still. You know.
Oh, I agree. I have fun with Jaws 3. I have for quite a while.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a kind of reluctant Jaws 3 defender. I think if you're going about it, in some ways, it's more original than Jaws 3. It's kind of it's more original than Jaws 2. It has a better kind of idea at its core. I think doing the Sea Life Centre and all that, but it's just really badly executed. Whereas Jaws 2's executed well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that what is one cool thing about 3 is it's kind of unlike 2, it's kind of at least changing up the locale and doing something a little different.
Yeah, so I'll give it merit for that, and yeah. So the concept is better than the execution on Jaws 3, I'd say.
Yeah,
Um,
I'd agree with that.
but still, I think it's fun. I think if you just want a B movie, 80s kind of fun film, I think it ticks the box.
Yeah, and even though it's not John Williams, I do think the kind of the music that's actually written for Jaws 3, I think actually goes with the movie because it sounds like a theme park kind of music.
It does, yeah. It kind of sounds like a TV advert music
Yeah,
advertising a water park, like something you'd get on a cheesy video or something back in the day. Like, yeah. I don't think Dennis Quaid's very good at it, though. I feel like, to be honest, I've never been a massive Dennis Quaid fan. Thoughts?
yeah. I mean, I guess I've never been a massive Dennis Quaid fan either, but I think he's I think he's fine in the movie, and his girlfriend's kind of cute.
Yeah, she was in. No, she wasn't. I'm thinking of someone else. I thought she was in Cheers, but she wasn't. I'm thinking. I'm thinking of the woman out of the Money Pit.
Oh, okay, yeah, Shelley Long.
Yeah, yeah. It's just where I don't think it's necessarily Dennis Quaid's fault, but he just kind of plays it like Mike Brody's a bit of an idiot. Just got out of the water. It's like, what the hell was that? It's like, well, you were in the first two films, apparently. You should know. You know what I mean? It's like, it makes no sense for the Brody family to be involved. Why they don't even need to be in it.
Yeah, that was something that was hard for movie sequels to let go of, is kind of they get hooked on a certain character, like the Friday the 13th films got stuck on Tommy Jarvis for 3 movies. Like, sometimes it's hard for franchises to let go of their main characters.
Yeah. Do you know what would have made more sense? Is because I highly doubt that the Brody kids would want anything to do with the ocean. I'm working as it'd have been better if they'd got Hooper, a shark expert, in to sort of. They could have brought Richard Dreyfuss back. That's the way round to connect it, I think.
Yeah, but the question is, does Richard Dreyfuss want to do it? I mean, probably not.
Yeah, no, I know it's circumstance. I'm just saying, like, if I was sat down with, like, in the meeting room and say that would be the way to connect it to the first one, before even asking Richard Dreyfuss, that's the kind of the angle I'd have gone for. But
well, here's a question as put to you as a Jaws fan. Let's say you were pitching the story for Jaws 3 and they said, yeah, Hooper sounds great, but Dreyfuss doesn't want to do it. Would you be open to someone else playing Hooper?
That's a good. I don't know. Maybe they could get around it. It's like it's Hooper's brother or something.
It's his brother.
It could be like the only thing I could think of, like Jeff Bridges, how he looks in King Kong. That'd be perfect. The shark expert.
Okay, a hippie shark expert.
Yeah, I mean, the way they could have connected is just have no characters from the first 2 films, and they were just like, the first 2 films are mentioned as like, this is the worst shark incident since the Amity Island attacks of '75. You know what I mean? Or something. You could just a little loose tie-in or something.
Absolutely. Oh yeah, that one was Sheriff Brody. He really mucked that up.
Yeah. Yeah, just so like, yeah. Gee. Didn't he die from a heart attack? It was the fear of the shark that killed him, they say.
Yeah, he died of a heart attack at a water park.
Yeah. Yeah, he was trying to train dolphins or something. It went wrong.
He saw the fin and fainted, yep.
I feel like now, can you imagine if Roy Scheider was still alive, and the way we are today, with kind of like reviving everything like they're doing with Sam Neill, bringing him back into, or Harrison Ford bringing him back into Indiana Jones, Chief Brody turning up and he's like 90, coming to save the day on his little old motormobile or something, I don't know.
Well, if he were around, they totally would do it.
Go on.
Oh, I was saying if Roy Scheider was around, they definitely would do it these days.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't think Roy Scheider would agree to it, because he didn't want to do Jaws 2.
Yeah, that's true.
But you just imagine him coming back. We're gonna need an even bigger boat or something like that. Just something. they so would, wouldn't they?
Oh my God, that's the line they'd use too.
Gonna need an even bigger boat. I used to look round. I think they get the kind of like these really kind of cheap knockoff third-party movies like Jurassic Shark and all these like Sharknado and even kind of lesser ones than that. All these kind of like supermarket straight-to-video movies. I once saw one called, I think it was called The Shark's Assist.
Okay.
The tagline was, "We're going to need a bigger cross," which I thought was funny.
I see. Shark Assist. So it's okay, like The Exorcist. Okay, we're gonna need
like a demonic, kind of like possessed shark or something.
we're gonna need a bigger crucifix. Oh no.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So it's probably better than Jaws 4.
Yeah, that it's very very possible.
Oh, actually, I've got one more. I've got a defensive duty. You know, he said in the opening scene stuff. I'd say it's a good scene. It makes no sense because he's in the Bahamas. But when Mike Brody kind of like swims through that shipwreck and then gets back to the top of, gets to the surface, he undoes the oxygen tank. That's a pretty cool scene.
In which one? The fourth one?
Yeah, I mean, in the context of a bad movie, I feel like that's a decent enough scene.
Yeah, it's something how that movie does actually manage to have a couple of decent scenes. So I'll agree with that.
Yeah, it was completely ridiculous because it's in the Bahamas, and he kind of like swims through like an old piratey shipwreck, which is kind of cool, I guess. But I suppose that was something a bit different, I guess.
Trying to reach for anything positive to say about the fourth film, I see.
Yeah, and I could have sworn that Jamaican guy died at the end of that film, and then I watched it and like, oh, he pops up at the end. It's like, I'm all right, man. I was like, how did he make it out alive? He's got blood gushing all over him. He's like,
yeah, I tell you.
And doesn't the shark it roars at one moment?
Yeah, I think before it gets impaled or whatever. Yeah.
Does it get impaled and just blows up?
Yeah, there's two different endings of the fourth one. One of them is impaled and blows up. I can't remember the other one or whatever.
Yeah. I want to see the director's original vision, before the producers came in and ruined it. The DVD of that. Now that would be interesting.
Yeah, it's really a shame what some producers do to movies.
Yeah. To be fair, though, I don't feel like that's what happened with that movie. I just feel like it's going to be bad, whatever. But yeah, and like I say, though, Jaws, like, if someone says, what's your favourite film? It's always between Jaws and The Empire Strikes Back. It's those two for me. But I think Jaws, just because it was kind of like the first, I think in its historical significance, probably takes first place. I don't know. I back and forth on those two, kind of neck and neck. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like trying to say what your favorite film is. It's like, it's kind of a weird one because you have different films for different moods and different reasons why you like them. But I just think Jaws has stuck with me the longest. I think for that reason, that's probably why it's number one.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally understandable.
Yeah. I mean, would it be in your top 10 if you had a top 10?
Yeah, there's a very good chance. Yeah, I'm not one of those movie fans who has, the top 10 or 20 or 50, but yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. I mean, I've got like a top 10 movies, but just for fun. I'm not saying that's definitive. That's it. It's just, if someone asks me now, and I just, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I can just while I'm sitting here, I'm just picturing scenes from the movie, and one of the many things I love about old movies and growing up with certain movies is just how how once again back to the same old thing. It's just I love the time capsule aspect of it and how it captures the beach summertime fun of
Yeah,
the mid '70s and Amity Island and everything. It's just a fun atmosphere.
yeah, I agree completely. Um, yeah, and it just reminds me, I think as well, because I've got like a yearning for the past. It just reminds me of better times as well. I mean, that might be just my perspective, but it just personally, it's kind of like a comfort to put that film on. You know?
Absolutely, yeah. That's what we talk about with Jesse as well. A lot of these movies from our childhoods that were made,
Yeah,
came out so long ago are comfort films. And, the biggest technology on the beaches in the first Jaws film are just transistor radios.
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Oh, don't forget the arcade game that they're playing on.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, that arcade game.
It's quite impressive for 1975. I thought. It's like,
Yeah, that's true. Before the the heyday of the video games really began, but yeah, I think a lot of for me and you and a lot of us movie fans, it does come down to that same old thing. Just a representation, a time capsule of better times that unfortunately have come and gone.
yeah. I mean, I where I live now is there's a lot of beaches around me, and it's really beautiful. And there still is that vibe. Um, Families on the beach having a good time, and it's summery, but there's still everyone's kind of on their phones, and they have to capture every moment rather than just being there, living in it. You know?
Yeah, that is that
So,
is just really too bad.
yeah. Um, yeah. But to be honest, though, I just think Jaws. I think it makes me think of Saturday night, school's out the way, Friday or Saturday night. Just sitting around, Coca-Cola. We might have been to, you know, gone to the chip shop, and it's just good times. You know what I mean? Just kind of just captures that feeling of a Saturday for me. I don't know if that sounds weird.
No, it doesn't sound weird at all. It's a very cool description.
It's kind of just like the pinnacle of the start of pop culture in a way. Do you know what I mean? In It's kind of like the birth of the '80s, 5 years before it. That's the way I'd say it.
Yeah, that's another good
Uh,
that's another good thought there. Well put.
yeah, just yeah. I think it's like the way the teenagers and the grown-ups are dressed. It doesn't. I think the film ages well. Like the clothes they're wearing, you're like, oh, that looks really '70s. Not particularly, maybe one or two characters, but it's still. Do you know what I mean? I just feel like it's the birth of how people are represented on film, kind of in the modern way now. You know what I mean? Like how we kind of, I don't know, just kind of like more relatable characters, kind of how we would dress, and
Oh,
families just hanging around. And
you mean like the everyday person versus like a Hollywood star in a movie?
yeah, yeah, like your Charlton Heston's, because he was considered. He wanted to be Chief Brody.
Oh,
Did you know Charlton Heston?
yeah, I can't remember if I've heard that or not.
But even Steven Spielberg said no because the shark wouldn't stand a chance. Do you know what I mean? I think he means he's just too big for the film. He's just too much of a star. He wanted someone more humble, like Roy Scheider. Just like the guy. He's just an everyman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and you can look that up because, like I say, all these documentaries, Spielberg said that he wanted. And do you remember Lee Marvin?
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen anything with them, but I know the name.
But he was going to be. Spielberg wanted him to be Quint,
Oh,
but he was too busy. And so I think then Robert Shaw's name came up, and yeah.
well, very
So,
cool.
yeah. Well, it could have gone in a lot of different ways, couldn't it?
Oh, that's for darn sure.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of who might have been Dreyfuss. Um, I seem to think there was someone else who was kind of like being auditioned to be Dreyfuss before him, someone well known, but I can't think. I can't think, but yeah, I'm sure Richard Dreyfuss, because he wasn't particularly well known at that time, was he? I'm sure that there was other people up for the role.
Yeah, that movie probably put his name on the map.
Yeah. I'm just thinking, I don't know. For some reason, Gary Busey came in my head, but it can't be Gary Busey. That would be a good film.
You want him in every movie, playing every part.
Yeah, even the shark. Yeah, I love Gary Busey. He just pops up in so many films. Like he pop up for 5 minutes. Like, oh, he was the best thing in the film, and now he's gone. You know?
Yeah.
It's just like, yeah, yeah. It's just I was going to say something now. Oh, on the documentary, did you know how Roy Scheider got the part?
I don't think I remember.
It was kind of like. Well, because like basically Spielberg had the weight of the world on his shoulders. Like it was pre-production, nothing was going right. Producers didn't believe in him, and he was kind of like he was at a party in Hollywood or somewhere, and he was sulking in the corner. And Roy Scheider just approached him and asked him what's wrong. And he was like, I can't get this film together. I can't find the cast. I can't find my Chief Brody. And Roy Scheider said, I could be Chief Brody. And I was like, that's how it came about.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Again, it's just all things that if this film would happen in a normal way, you know, filming in a controlled environment, just casting everyone the kind of like the producers wanted, it could have been such a different film if there was just these little circumstances.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know.
Charlton Heston in a boat in a pool in a back lot.
Yeah. You could just imagine him being like that old classic, how he is a bit in, you know, Planet of the Apes, like, get that stinking fin away from me or something. I don't know. Yeah, like you say though, I hope I'm not repeating myself too much, but just like you just look at like Planet of the Apes, which was like 7 years before Jaws, something like that, and like the way Charlton Heston. I don't get me wrong, I love Planet of the Apes and I like Charlton Heston, but just the way he kind of would like execute his lines, very Hollywood. You know what I mean? Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Have you seen him in Earthquake?
Sorry.
Have you seen Charlton Heston in Earthquake?
Yeah, I have actually.
Yeah, he was quite a character.
Yeah, but he's just kind of like you know, he's kind of like Ben-Hur and what was it? You know, he's just kind of very kind of like just when I think actors probably approached it a little bit differently up until kind of like Jaws period of, you know, everything's got to be kind of grandiose and well pronounced, and you know, it's like Roy Scheider just plays it just as a very kind of, you know, he's basically a bit of a scaredy cat in Jaws in a way, you know.
Yeah, I was going to mention that earlier. Yeah, he's the one who you know when he went on the boat, he had to have his Dramamine and his head to toe rubber. You know, he's dressed in the whatever the hell it was. You know, just in the wetsuit or whatever, just the rain outfit or whatever he had. That didn't last long though, did it?
No, and that makes him even more endearing because he has to kind of rise to the occasion, doesn't he? You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like if Charlton Heston was like, you know, boys, I got this one. It's all right. You know, I just feel like he just jumped in the sea and wrestled the shark, and that would have been it.
Yeah, you're probably not too far off.
Yeah, just a male character with vulnerability probably hadn't been seen all that much, really. A leading star who was kind of out of his depths. You probably didn't get that. I mean, maybe Jimmy Stewart a little bit. Could have been thinking of Rear Window or something, but I'm talking like a big film like this where the star is kind of just almost, I wouldn't say timid, but just I don't know. How would you describe it? Could you elaborate on what I was saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Basically, yeah, I do kind of regard James Stewart as kind of one of the first everymans in the golden era of film. Kind of yeah, I always regarded James Stewart as like an everyman kind of a guy versus the chiseled chin, handsome, suave kind of leading man. So yeah, Roy Scheider and James Stewart are kind of this cut from the same cloth.
Yeah, whereas like Jimmy Stewart made like Jimmy Stewart movies, but this isn't a Roy Schneider movie. This is a big kind of spectacle movie, and to put someone like your leading man as someone who's vulnerable, it was a bit different,
Yep.
Because so that's another thing where I think this film is innovative, it's like, and then it leads to because there's a bit where Dreyfuss is saying, could you stand at the end, so I need to get some balance or something. It's like, screw that, it's just like, it's great.
Yeah, I need what the hell's he needs something in it to give it some scale my ass.
Yeah, something else, right? Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Because Dreyfuss is interestingly kind of like in awe of the shark, because he's like, "Oh, come here, darling!" He's taking pictures of it, and
yeah, the scientist.
Yeah, he's just intrigued by it, and it's good though because it doesn't take an unrealistic turn where he's at the end trying to go, I don't think we've got any right to kill this animal. It's like turns out to be like freaking aliens or something. You know what I mean? It's like trying to capitalize on it or something. I don't know.
I hear you. Like, his character could have just as easily went, well, this is a monumental piece of nature, and that it got this big, and we can't, Quint, you can't destroy it. I'll forbid it, and blah blah blah.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, you could imagine it like it could have taken that turn, but no, Richard Dreyfuss is still out to kill it, but he's kind of still in awe of it at the same time.
Wants to get his photos first.
Yeah. But I always liked the scene, obviously the head scene when Dreyfuss is scuba diving and the head pops up in the shipwreck.
Oh yeah, that was one of the scenes that scared me as a kid.
Yeah, I think in the cinema that when it came out, that's the scene that everyone remembered, like the big jump. That was the only scene, I think, that was shot after the fact. Like, sometimes they go back and just like, we need a few extra scenes or whatever just to pad it out or whatever. That is actually shot in a swimming pool, that scene.
Oh yeah, from what I hear, the jump scare didn't work the first time around.
Oh really? Is that what it was?
That's what I remember hearing. Yeah, like the timing was off or something. It just didn't work.
Yeah, I think, but like that whole scene is shot in a swimming pool, like a controlled environment. I think it gets away with it because you like see the lighting of the ship and it's at night, and I think it works. You know what I mean? I think.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a scene that takes place underwater, at night, you can shoot it in a pool. That's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. But if it's in the daytime, it better damn well be on the ocean. Yeah. Yeah, it's just I think 10 out of 10. I can't say too much. Is there any, just to be controversial, any nitpicks, any flaws that you don't like about it? Just like tiny things?
I can't, nothing really sticks out or stands out as being flaws. that I can really think of off the top of my head. Why? Is there anything that bothers you?
Not really, no. The only thing I can think of is when I'm thinking of like how a modern audience might see it is and it doesn't bother me at all, but I'm just thinking, okay, maybe you could have edited that bit a little bit better, is where it's right at the end where the shark literally jumps on the boat and you see the big rubber, you see how rubber it is and it looks a little fake. It doesn't bother me, but I was thinking, well, you could maybe just film that tiny bit. That's the most, if I can think of anything of a nitpick, that's it. But it doesn't really particularly bother me. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, I hear you. Maybe a couple too many seconds of rubber shark on the screen time.
Yeah, just it's kind of like at an angle and it's kind of chopping away trying to get at them. And it's just like one of the long shots is you see the kind of the full body of the shark. It looks a bit rubbery.
Yeah,
Right.
I hear you there. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Bother me. I find that kind of charming, but I could see someone of a modern audience kind of like, ooh, that looks dodgy.
Yeah, I guess my only complaint would be just, and there's nothing you can do about it, and it's perfectly understandable, but, like during the last scenes on the ocean trying to get the shark, having like during a scene having it go from overcast to sunny to cloudy but I mean, it's stuff you can't help what's going on in the sky.
Yeah, I've never really noticed that, but
Oh shit, I don't want to ruin it for you.
for the whole film now, that's it.
Oh, I just ruined it.
In my defence, in Cornwall, it can be overcast and then sunny within a space of a minute. So I'm like, okay, it can happen.
Oh, well, that's a good point. Well, that's why you've never noticed it in the movie, because you're used to that.
Here's one. Just are you all right for time a little bit longer? Or you tell me when you wanna.
Yeah, I'm
Call
good.
it.
I'm good for a little bit longer. What you got?
Have you ever noticed there's a shooting star in the film? Have you ever noticed that?
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that would have been done in intentionally in post production. Yeah.
I didn't know if it was just something that they caught by accident on film. I always wondered that. You know?
Oh, you don't know the story about Spielberg's dad taking him out stargazing and seeing shooting stars and
Ah. Oh. So that's why it's a.
yeah, the shooting stars in a lot of early Spielberg movies.
Ah. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's optically yeah, it's an optical effect, and I want to say it's also in like yeah, it's in a lot of Spielberg movies. I think it's in like Indiana Jones, Temple of Doom. It's in
Wow.
quite a few of the early Spielberg movies. So
Well, you could connect every Spielberg movie with the stars, and you could say, "Oh, that's E.T. making his way to Elliot," and or I don't know. Now that is overthinking, but so would you? Yeah, I think this is. Hmm. Would it be his best film? I know it's my favourite of his, but would it be his? Yeah, I think it's. I think everything you want from a Spielberg movie is done best in this film, in my opinion.
yeah, I mean, you could argue Jurassic Park, but I just love the '70s feel of Jaws,
Yeah.
and just Jurassic Park would never live up to the '70s charm of Jaws for me.
No. I'd say Jurassic Park's pretty solid, though.
Oh yeah.
Pretty damn solid. I mean, yeah, I think that's masterfully made as well. And again, I grew up with that as much as Jaws. That was on. If I wasn't watching Jaws, I was watching Jurassic Park. If I wasn't watching that, I was watching Star Wars. So yeah, God, life was good back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, it always seems to be better when you're a young little one.
I know. You just get less time to, as you get older, to watch things. I think, which is a shame. I should make more of an effort to go back and watch a lot of things again. I just haven't had the time recently, you know.
No, I hear you. It seems like my memories of being a kid was just almost watching movies on repeat, like over and
Really?
over and over.
And you never seem to get bored of them either when you're a kid, which is
Yeah, yeah. Like if you're a movie geek like us, yeah, you can just watch the same thing over and over and just delight at the same stuff.
no. But I'm saying even more so when I was a kid, I could watch, Return of the Jedi at night, and then get up the next morning and really want to watch it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's just I don't know something to do with the mental makeup of a kid. I mean, so much is new back then and stuff.
Yeah, it's true. And also, you kind of, I know it sounds weird. You know, obviously it's not real as a kid, but you kind of like subconsciously just think it's real, and I mean that in the kind of most realistic way. You're just lost in it when you're a kid. You want to be Luke Skywalker and you want to be, Indiana Jones. It's just, even though your mum and dad say it's not real, it's actors. You just kind of get lost in that world. You know what I mean?
That's a
Especially,
really yeah, it's a really good way to put it. You get lost in the fantasy of it. Yeah.
yeah, and you see the toys and like, oh, you get a lightsaber, and as far as you're concerned, right? I'm going to be Luke Skywalker. With your imagination. I remember that feeling. You know what I mean? Of looking at them as if they were kind of real. You know. And I think as you get older, you start to appreciate it as a film rather than just a fantasy, and you lose that spark a little bit, I suppose.
Yeah, it's
You,
a little bit of a bummer.
you start to learn about, how they edited the music at the end and the sounds, how they got the sounds, and that's fascinating in itself. But I think when you're a kid, it's just. How can I describe it? You just don't look at it with that wider scope. It's just you're just absorbed in it. That's all I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's for darn sure.
Yeah, but it's like just going off topic slightly. Like I say, have you seen the new Top Gun?
Yeah, I did a little bit of a conversation with Matthew Haggerty on about it. So, what did you think of it?
I'd say I liked it. I thought it was good, pretty darn good, and in my opinion, I don't want to be controversial. I think it's getting a little bit overhyped because it's the only decent thing that's come out in so long. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I was never a big fan of the first film. For me, the second one is better than the first movie, in my opinion.
Yeah. But do you think it's like, because it's getting like, not that Rotten Tomatoes means anything, but it's getting like 97, a 97% score and all that. And I'm like, I don't think it deserves that. I think it's a good film and it's competently made and it's quite thrilling at times, but I don't, you know what I mean? I just feel like it's the only decent thing that's come out in so long.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with the 97 rating thing either. But yeah, I pretty much agree with what you said. I mean, people, in a lot of ways, it Top Gun Maverick is kind of like what movies used to be more often, and now all of a sudden it took so long to have something like this come out, and everyone's like, oh my god. It's just like
Yeah.
everyone. This is what movies like. What almost every movie used to be.
That's exactly what I thought. It's like, well done. You've made a competent, good film. Well done. More, please. Let's keep this up. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep this up.
Yeah, yeah. For me, the reason why people love it so much is because it's like it reflects what movies used to be, which for me, it faded away, and the Top Gun Maverick is a taste of what used to be. So it'd be nice if the trend could continue, but I doubt that's gonna happen.
Yeah, yeah. I just thought it was solid, and I liked it and I enjoyed it. But it didn't. have a lingering feeling with it. Like I know when I've seen a great film and it's like it lingers with me for a few days, and I'm not thinking about it particularly. I thought, it's good, that's it. So yeah, that's my opinion on it. What was your take on the show? I hadn't heard that. Was it just kind of similar thing to what I said, or
My take on Maverick?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I think it's better than the first film. I'm not a big fan of the first film, so it was, the purported, the supposed real flying and stuff was appreciated, and kind of trying to actually do something, real and to excite the audience again is appreciated by me instead of just faking it. They could have just easily faken everything with computers and green screen and stuff. So, that's greatly appreciated by me.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I would just like kind of where it lost me a bit was it's just kind of I think it got a little bit over sentimental for me towards the end, and just the whole saving each other at the last minute cliche. I was like, oh god,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? I just thought, just turned into every standard third act you could ever think of. Just like last minute, this guy turns up, and saves the day, and then another ending. Oh no, and then he saves the day. I just thought,
yeah. It seemed like they did that surprise twist ending 2 or 3 times.
yeah. I was like, oh look, it's the old jet from the old days. Great, I'm like, oh. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh no, I've just tainted this video. Anyone listening?
Nah.
If they get right. But yeah, no, I think it was solid. I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10 if I was going to do that, which is pretty damn good.
Yeah, honestly, I thought it was better than I expected, but I don't really have any urge to really see it anytime soon again.
Like you say, I just think we've been fed such kind of mediocre crap for the last, 10 years, more or less. And then something good comes along, It's like the pop charts when anyone ever like releases a song that sounds a little bit retro, it takes off. That's good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like I can give you loads of examples of that. Like Pharrell Williams' "Happy." That song. It's got that soulful kind of sounds a bit like Marvin Gaye or something, and it takes off. Anyway, we're going down a different track now, but I don't want people to think I hated Top Gun Maverick because I didn't at all. I thought it was good, but let's continue down this. Let's continue down this path of good quality films again.
Well, that'd be a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, I think I said everything I wanted to say about Jaws. I think it's just to round off. I think it's a masterpiece, and just holds a lot of great memories for me, and just love it to bits. Really, it's part of who I am. Referencing it, and
Yeah, absolutely. Like our favorite movies are kind of a part of who we are, kind of.
Yeah, and it just makes me feel good putting it on. It just feels like June, sun's out, you've had a good day, maybe barbecuing or whatever, and you come in and watch Jaws, and you get cozy, and that feeling of it's just I think I tend to watch it probably every year, once a year, I think.
Yeah, I generally try to pull it out, or the movie rather, around this time as well, June, July, August, something like that.
Yeah. It's cool now living by the sea. Watching it just gives it a bit more of a, I don't know, just gives you. It's quite cool living near the ocean and watching it, I guess.
Oh, hell yeah, I can imagine that must be fun.
Yeah, and there's a lot of bars in Cornwall, and you go in and they'll have a Jaws poster up, which is cool. You know, they like to. It's kind of like it's just such a part of pop culture, you know.
Well, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah, there's I'll actually send over some pictures of there's a place in Cornwall called the Minack Theatre. I don't know if you've heard of it, and it's just right on the cliffs, and it built like it was like I don't know, like 8 years ago. This woman had a lifelong dream to build a theatre into the cliffs, like an outdoor theatre where there could be plays performed and music, and it's lit by candles at night and stuff, and it overlooks the ocean. It's beautiful.
Wow.
And they play Jaws, and you know, I think that's quite special. You know, with the ocean as a backdrop, and you know, so I'll send you some pics of that if you like. Yeah.
No, that'd be great.
Yeah, it's cool. Have you seen these people online that you can watch Jaws actually in the ocean? On like, little canoes and stuff, with like little round inflatables and stuff.
Yeah, who the hell? No, I haven't seen that, but I don't know who the hell would want to do that.
And that would be like they've got a projection screen out in the sea. I've seen it, like just like on YouTube. And then I don't know if it's a boat that's just still and it's projecting onto this screen, and you can just watch it on little Lilos and stuff. I feel like that would be terrifying.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty scary. It's like watching an airplane disaster movie while you're up in an airplane.
Just the thought, though, like, oh god, especially just being like a little kind of like, you know, like a rubber ring thing, just, you know, sat there. There's like the pictures of the, you know, the camera when it comes up to the surface and grabs hold of someone. It's just like, oh.
Yeah, I guess to each their own, I guess, for that way of watching.
It's a good idea. Oh, I think I'd probably do it, but maybe it's a cool idea.
Well, yeah, you can't say that it's not a cool idea.
Yeah. I'm just thinking what else you could do that with, like, you know, watch Halloween in the middle of the woods. Oh, sorry, Friday the 13th. You could watch it in the middle. I bet you'd like that, wouldn't you?
I'd like that.
In the pitch dark, would you, in the woods? I think that would be cool.
Oh, yeah, I'd be up for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, let me know if you want to talk about any other movies. I'd love to. If you, I'd love to come back on and do this again.
Yeah, very cool. We'll try to do it again here one of these weeks or whatever. Definitely appreciate you stopping by to talk about Jaws.
Yeah, it's great. It's because the more I talk about it, and you know, you start the show and it's kind of a little bit, you don't know where to start, but then you kind of just forget you're being recorded, and it's like having a conversation just with a friend in a living room. It's great. It's cool, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And I figured once we get going, it'll just flow, which it did. So that was cool.
Yeah, it just becomes more natural, doesn't it? You know, you don't. Yeah, that's great. And if you want me on to talk about a film that's one of your favourites, and I'll give you my opinion on it, I'd be happy to.
Well, that's definitely a good idea for a future recording.
Yeah. If it's one of the Friday the 13th or whatever, yeah, I'd be up for that.
Well, very cool. I'll give it some thought, and we'll see about getting something together for the future.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm gonna check out now, and thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks a lot for talking, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Okay. Cheers, Nate.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for joining a conversation with Will Powell from the UK about Jaws, mostly, among other topics. Obviously, you know, movie fans and movie geeks and stuff, you know, you can't expect to just talk about one thing in the course of however long this recording is. We got on to other topics, but obviously these topics are, as you heard, or in some cases related to the movie Jaws, in some cases not, or whatever. But and before I end this recording, I just wanted to let everyone know that this is kind of something that we just started doing recently, based on, I kind of started doing it with Jesse, the conversations with the fan conversations about movies. And I kind of think it's an interesting alternative way to hear from people's, voices on calls versus just doing a radio show. It's kind of an alternative or an addition to doing radio shows. We are not distracted by chat doing this, and I just wanted to put this out there. If anyone else would like to talk about a favorite movie or something on a Skype call, someone who might not, might be too chicken, or that might not be the right way to put it, but someone who hasn't felt like joining on a Skype call for a live radio show live stream, but might be more open to doing a fan conversation on a Skype call in a format such as this, where we record it and upload it later. Feel free to let me know if anyone listening would be interested in that. And I guess that pretty much does it for this recording. Thank you everyone very much for listening, and as always, we'll catch you on the next one.